It's been a while since I've talked about Hazbin Hotel, and in that time, a lot has gone down in the community. The show got renewed for seasons 3 and 4, we saw a sort of mini crossover with the sister show Hellaverse, and VivziePop as a creator went from mostly positive to mixed reviews from fans in a matter of weeks. And while I could talk about the problems with the writing or the characters, I instead want to discuss a bigger problem. Not one that affects just the viewers or the animators, but one that affects every single person involved. A problem that, if left unchecked, has the potential to completely ruin a large chunk of people's viewing experiences for the show entirely. Sit back and relax, friends, because today we're talking about Hazbin Hotel's actual biggest problem. Before season 1 came out, a lot of fans were spreading leaks around on Twitter. And they weren't just release dates or anything like that. They were full-on spoilers, like unfinished versions of songs, plot points, and even unfinished storyboards of the season. Of course, most of the stuff got buried a couple weeks after, but the damage had already been done. A lot of people had already seen the leaks. Hazbin Hotel was so big at the time that you couldn't even open social media without seeing some sort of leak for an upcoming episode. For example, the character Lucifer got revealed in episode 5, but if you were keeping track of the show when it came out, then you would have known about his impending visit a whopping 4 weeks in advance. It got to a point where pretty much every single episode from season 1 had been leaked in some way before it was officially on Prime Video, which if you compare that to even other Amazon shows like Invincible or The Boys, it gets pretty concerning how such important parts of the show were able to seep through the cracks so far away from the actual release. And after season 1 finished, you would think that the security would get tighter and people wouldn't be able to leak such vital parts of the season's story, but even over a year later, here we are, with even more huge leaks that pretty much destroy all anticipation for these mysteries being solved. What am I talking about? Well, for example, we made 3 videos here on the channel about trying to figure out who Alistair's soul contract is with, diving deep into every single detail we could find to try to nail it down. And then, surprise, all of it gets leaked and we pretty much know everything about Alistair's backstory and who owns his soul, and even what he looks like as a human. We know all this, and we haven't even gotten the trailer for season 2 yet. But wait, it gets even worse. Alistair's backstory wasn't the only thing that was leaked. A whole bunch of important story details and plot points are out there on the internet for the people who want to seek them out. And it's actually really not that hard to find if you research the show often. So you can imagine the disappointment of fans who accidentally stumble upon this stuff. Especially if you make videos on the show like I do, where your ability to make theories kinda hinges on you not knowing the actual answer. It can even leave a sour taste in your mouth when you finally see the finished product. It makes you feel like you were robbed of the opportunity to see it the way it was intended to be seen, which can make it easy to just quit watching the show altogether. And like I said before, this extends even beyond the viewer experience. Could you imagine if you were animating for one of these shows? You spend weeks, maybe months on your scene, only to later see the storyboard leaked on Twitter in its entirety before you even get to see how the finished episode looks. All of a sudden, you have a chunk of the internet swarming to pick apart your work, and the only thing you can do is watch as the whole thing is spoiled for everyone. Even the executives aren't safe from this attack. If the leaks are bad enough, I wouldn't be shocked if they had to scrap entire chunks of animation that are finished, by the way, and completely start over, which only makes our wait for the next season even longer. And I'm sure this wouldn't be the first time something like this has happened to a studio similar to this either. And sometimes it's just too late to stop anything before release, and companies just have to bite the bullet and accept that people just aren't going to be surprised when they watch the new season. For example, the original Star Wars Revenge of the Sith movie was leaked online a full day before it was supposed to release in theaters. And not to mention the literal 2 times that a full SpongeBob movie has been leaked on Twitter actual months before its release. That could be a whole video on itself. Like, what the hell, Nickelodeon? Like, is no one keeping track of these things? I'm sure by now you can kinda understand the irreversible damage this can cause to not only the audience experience, but the companies producing them too. Like, why would you even want to see an unfinished product before it's done? I can kinda understand the SpongeBob movies a little bit because at least those were done, but why would anyone, if they're actually invested in the show, want to see the worst possible version of the show? That'd be like if I went to Rockstar headquarters and stole an unfinished build of GTA 6 when it's full of bugs and game-breaking glitches, and then just posted it online for everyone to play. Not only would I have mysterious red dots appearing on my forehead, but I would probably also have ruined a lot of people's hype for the game by just revealing it right then and there. I mean, I remember how disappointed the community was when GTA 6 had leaks a couple of years back. back. There were people who were taking breaks from the internet and social media altogether just to avoid the leaks. And there were other people, like myself, who just couldn't get away from the leaks for the entire period they were online. Until, of course, they got taken down and the leaker got publicly executed in Times Square. But back to Hazbin Hotel. There are actually ways we can try to circumvent these breaches and maybe prevent them from happening, or at least prevent them from spreading. First of all, we as a community could all collectively agree to avoid the viewing and spreading of leaks at all costs. Right now, one of the biggest fuels to the fire is actually us viewing these videos and pictures when they get released illegally. I know it's not our fault technically that these get posted, and I know there's nothing we can really do to stop these people from posting it if they're going to, but we can at least try our best to make sure the algorithm doesn't push these videos on whatever platform we're on. And if there's less viewer demand, or ideally none at all, then these sorts of leaks would start to die down on their own once all incentive goes away. 2, and this is more of an internal thing, if any higher ups to any of these streaming services are somehow watching this video right now, maybe try to look into releasing seasons all at once instead of trying to follow a TV schedule and releasing them weekly. Unless it's an indie animated show where the episodes are being done one by one, I really see no point in making everyone wait week after week for each episode, especially when they're already completed. Shows like Stranger Things and The Boys prove that this sort of format works and can lead to people continuing to talk about the shows months and even years after they've ended. Hell, certain shows that have completely wrapped up decades ago are still being talked about to this day. So I can't really see this choice affecting hype all that much. And also, as a bonus, since these streaming sites work similar to YouTube, releasing entire seasons at once would boost up session time if a lot of people are binging entire shows when they come out. And even more if they're like me, having to constantly rewatch all this stuff to make all these stupid videos. And lastly, security really needs to tighten up in these media studios. And I'm actually not joking when I say that. A lot of these leaks actually happen because of social engineering. Or in other words, people who don't actually work for the studio manipulate people who do work there into giving them passwords and other sensitive files by acting like they do work there. Now I know this may sound like some sitcom level buffoonery, but it's actually how a lot of these leaks manage to get out. Yeah, it turns out hacking doesn't really look like how people think from the movies, where there's just a guy that has like 3 keyboards and 5 monitors, all with coding software up. There's no hacking into any mainframes or anything like that. It's literally all just trickery, and it works way more than it should. These companies should really have better measures to make sure everyone is who they say they are. I know everyone's busting their asses to finish the next project, but if we could have just a little more measures put in place to make sure these leaks don't happen, that would benefit literally everyone involved in the process. And companies wouldn't have to potentially scrap years worth of work because of some teenager in their parents' basement yapping their way into the servers. But with all that being said, that's all I have to say for this video. Make sure to leave a like if you made it this far, and also subscribe so you don't miss future uploads. And also hit the bell. But anyway, guys, I love every single one of you with all my heart. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.